Good evening, everyone. Shavua Tov. Very glad to have you all here. We're very happy to begin our third week of From Golan with Love, and I always say we hope it's going to be the last week because lockdown, demonstrations, whatever it is, will end, and we'll be able to get back to normal life. We're very happy to launch our evening tonight with Nicole Behar, who's a local geologist, but she's not just an expert geologist, and will explain to us about the Golan and its unique terrain, as we called it, Israel's land of volcanoes. I'm just going to say also, just regarding her role as a co-founder of Shomrei HaGolan, the Golan Guardians, an NGO founded by people here in the Golan who care about nature, who are facing different challenges. So Nicole's going to share that too. Nicole, thank you very much for being with us, and the mic is yours. The floor is yours.
Okay, thank you very much, Yaakov. So, hi everybody. I'm very glad to be here and to talk about Israel's land of volcanoes. I will start with saying that I'm sorry about the English, so if I don't find the word sometimes. I will begin first with my personal story. It started, my history with the Golan Heights started during my service in the IDF. I came to the Golan Heights several times, and then I just fell in love with the Golan Heights, and then I was sure that I must live in the Golan Heights. So when I finished the service, I took myself from the center of Israel, from the city of Kfar Saba, and said goodbye to my parents and moved to northern Golan Heights. Then after a few years, I decided that I want to go studying, so I moved to Jerusalem for just a period to study. I studied geology and environmental studies, and then I continued to an MSc, and then during the MSc I did a research in the Golan Heights. It was about the magnetic field of the Earth. So the research was based on Golan Heights basalts. So I was always connected to the Golan Heights, and when I finished those degrees, I came back. I returned to the Golan Heights, and now I live in Kibbutz En Zivan in northern Golan Heights. So now let's talk a little bit about the Golan Heights, Israel's land of volcanoes. If you have questions, I would love to answer during or after, and I will try to do it as simple as I can, and I will take you to a voyage in time. Okay. It's first time that I do a presentation without seeing the crowd, so it's kind of weird. So I hope it will be fine. Okay, so I want to start with the uniqueness of the Golan Heights with respect to the rest of Israel. So first of all, I will talk about what is common in Israel. You can see here in the map at the left side of the slide, you see most of Israel is colored with this kind of light blue color. And here in pink is the Golan Heights. Most of Israel carbonate rocks, very ancient. They were formed at the bottom of the sea during the time that dinosaurs existed, during the Cretaceous and Jurassic. The Jurassic epoch is more known thanks to the film. So those rocks formed from small creatures that lived in the bottom of the sea, and today we find them all over Israel. Here's an example of the Arava Valley in southern Israel, in this area. Okay, you see those massive, large bodies of carbonate rocks. Sometimes limestone, sometimes is chalk, and etc. So this is most of Israel. Now let's move to the Golan Heights, which is here at the east of the Sea of Galilee and Hula Valley. The Golan Heights is a volcanic field, the only one in Israel. Therefore, it consists of dark volcanic rocks. Most of them are basalts, but also there are scorias and tuff. I will try to explain all of them during the talk, but I want to ask now, okay, I will ask myself and then answer. What are basalts? I just want to make sure that everyone knows. Basalts are rocks that were formed from a cooling lava flow. And what is a lava flow? It's a magma that emerges from the interior of the earth. The magma erupts. When the magma meets the atmosphere, we call it lava, and then the lava cools and solidifies and forms a basalt. All right, so the young volcanic field. I want to point at a thing that in geology, millions of years is young. Okay, so when I talk about young, it's not from yesterday morning, and now you will see. So the young volcanic field started its life 5 million years ago, and you can see here in the map. It's a simplified geological map. You can see here this red polygon, okay, at the east of the Sea of Galilee. Here or there, we find the most ancient volcanic rocks of the Golan Heights. Their age is between 5 and 4 million years ago. And then from that point in history where the volcanism started, it shifted towards the north. I mean, the volcanic activity migrated, okay, towards the north, as the yellow arrows show. And then we find the intermediate ages of the volcanic activity in the center of the Golan Heights with this pink color. And the youngest of the volcanic units we find in northern Golan Heights. The northern part of the Golan Heights neighbors the Mount Hermon, which is a very different geological body area. And actually, the youngest volcanic rocks, they tell us when the volcanic activity ceased, and it was 100,000 years ago. And to get a perspective, at this time, the Homo sapiens just started to migrate from Africa towards Asia and Europe 100,000 years ago. That's when the volcanic activity of the Golan Heights stopped. But we can't say that it stopped forever. It will maybe come back, but this is for maybe next talk. And another thing I want to say is that the eruption styles in the Golan Heights were truncal. They weren't explosive as we usually imagine a volcanic activity. The eruptions were lava that emerged from fissures in the ground, or sometimes small edifices, and it just flowed on the ground, on the surface, and that's it. And here we see an example of a lava flow. The left picture, we see a present-day lava flow in Hawaii, and you see how this hot lava, the areas that are red, you see it's actually the hot lava that can get to 1,200 degrees Celsius. It's very hot. And since it emerged so hot and the atmosphere is usually around 20 degrees, the difference is very huge, it's very large. And then the upper part starts to solidify first, and then the inner part is still liquid, so it continues moving, while here the upper part is broken. The natives in Hawaii call this kind of basalt, when you have this crust above, aha basalt, because it's not that nice to walk on it. So besides the present day lava flow, we see here at the right the lava flow that we find in an example of a lava flow that we find in the Golan Heights. The age of this lava flow, it's actually a front of a lava flow. This has an age of 700,000 years ago. Yes, we talk about ages in how much time ago. It's funny, but this is how is it. You may wonder why it is white and not black, as all basalts that we can think about. So actually, it is black. If you take a piece and break it and you see the center of it, the heart of the rock, you will see that it is black. But it is covered by a thin lamella of fungi that notifies itself from the minerals of the rock. So it's just a thin lamella, that's all. Here there is another example of a lava flow. Here at the left side, the present-day lava flow. You can look very carefully at this. The texture of this lava flow is different from the other one. It has a ropey texture, and this is how we call it, a ropey lava or ropey basalt. And here at the right side, you can see that this is actually a ropey basalt from the Golan Heights, and the age of this thing is 100,000 years ago. As I said before, it's the youngest. It's from the youngest or the last volcanic activity of the Golan Heights. And this kind of lava flow, the natives call it pahoy hoy. This is, I think, it's better to walk on this than on the aha. Here you can see some other examples of lava flows that are evident in the Golan Heights. There are plenty of them. You can see them everywhere, but those are very nice ones. And the important thing that I want to show you is in the picture at the right. Take a look on this side of this wall of the canyon. It is composed of a sequence of many lava flows, okay? There are many, many layers of basalts that were sometime in the past, they were lava flows that were one flowed and then another one came, sometimes with gaps of thousands of years or hundreds of years, okay? And then in between, we can find soil, and that soil that we find in between the different layers of basalt, it tells us how much time passed between one flow to the other one. I hope it's okay until now. I left here a minute for question if you want to clarify something. Is there any question? Okay, okay, just take a breath. Okay. Now, I want you to use your imagine, okay? Imagine a layered cake, like this one here, okay? And when we see this cake, when it is whole and no one had cut it yet, it looks like it has one surface and we don't know what there is inside until we cut a piece. So the same thing with the Golan Heights. You can go on it, travel, hike, and you will see only what is beneath your feet. But if you take the Golan Heights, let's say, and imagine it, you cut it, you do a cross section from Mount Hermon in the north to the Sea of Galilee in the south, then you can see what we have from the surface here, up here, to the deepest part of the Golan Heights, which can be like tens of kilometers, okay? So now take a look at this yellow band, okay? This yellow band it has the shape of a syncline, as you can see, as a bowl. Now I want you to think about the time before the volcanic activity, okay? This red area above the yellow is all the volcanic rocks that were accumulated during the 5 million years of volcanism, okay? So prior the volcanic activity, the Golan Heights had a shape of a syncline. I hope you got it, okay? This syncline started to accumulate, flow one after the other, until this syncline, this ancient syncline, was reshaped and got a different landscape. It was reshaped to a plateau. And that's why in Hebrew we call it Ramat HaGolan, Golan Heights, that is a high place, but also with a flat surface. So this is the Golan Heights. And all this syncline accumulated around 1 kilometer in the deepest part, 1 kilometer of lava flows, okay? 1 kilometer is the column of volcanic units. This is important and we will use it a little bit later. So here in this slide, you can see the plateau, the landscape of the plateau. Okay, you can see it here and you can see it here in spring or in autumn. The Golan changes its look, its landscape from green to yellow. Okay, so on top of the plateau, we see something else. You see these small edifices, small hills? What are these? Okay, let's explain. These are cinder cones. Cinder cones, you may know cinder cones, at least by how it looks from YouTube videos or National Geographic, or if you maybe visited some of them in your life. So this is a cinder cone. It happens when the magma has more energy than in the truncile flows. It has more energy, and that's why it ejects itself outside. Here we have in the pictures at the bottom, we have two examples of the cinder cones in the Golan Heights, and now we will talk about them more into deep. So here at the left side of the slide, we see a geological map. Now it's not a simplified one. This is a real one, but we can still see the red area that tells us about the oldest basalts. We see the pink of the intermediate ages and the orange area, which tells us about the late phase of the volcanic activity. What else do we see on this map? We see pink patches, pink dots sometimes. All these pink patches are actually the cinder cones. And if you notice, please take a closer look. They are aligned in two parallel lines, okay? Parallel or subparallel. This is one, and this is the second, okay? They are aligned from northeast to south, from northwest to southeast. And why? You may wonder why. I will say it very shortly without getting into details, but this is due to the assumption that we are doing research right now, is due to the tectonic activity, plate tectonics. You know, the crust of the earth is made of plates, different plates that have a relative movement between them, and this is plate tectonics. And we have here a major fault in Israel, a major plate tectonic boundary that affects this. Okay, so here at the right side of the slide, we see two pictures of some cinder cones. The one at the bottom, this is Tel Fares, which is a Fares cinder cone. Most of the names come from Arabic, and they weren't changed. So this is Tel Fares, is the one here in the corner. As you can see here, is a very large one. This one looks odd because it was, until recently, it was mined for scoria, the rock that is made of small pieces of rocks that has a lot of holes, very light stones that can hold water for a long time, and they are used a lot for gardenery. So this is the Fares, and on the top we see three cinder cones. The third one at the north, it's a little bit harder to notice, but those are the Ramtaniot. They are located here. Is 1, 2, and 3. And another two examples, we have Mount Chiffon, Tel Chiffon, okay, that is here. It's actually a coupled cinder cone. And we have the two most iconic cinder cones of the Golan Heights. Those are the Avital here, this one, Avital, and Bental. Okay, in the Bental, maybe some of you or you were or you will visit there, there is a wonderful coffee shop up there. You can have a great coffee with a great view.
Kofi
It's a
Annan.
wonderful. Huh?
Kofi Annan.
I didn't say that.
No, I'm saying Kofi Annan. For those who were in the Golan, you were there for sure.
Yeah,
Kofi
so
Annan.
thank you. So it's the Kofi Annan. Yes. It's a wonderful place. The mount itself is beautiful, and the view from there is beautiful. So this was a little explanation about the cinder cones. I'm doing a research about them right now, and I hope to get new answers soon. And maybe we do another talk about the results sometime later in the future. Okay, so until now, we talked about the geology itself, about the volcanic history itself, but now I want to talk a little bit about all the things that rely on this, all the derivatives of that volcanic field, the Golan Heights. Okay, so let's talk about it a little bit. So Golan Heights has a great aquiferic system. And sorry, I returned to the cake, but it's very useful. Remember that I told you that we have 1 kilometer of layered lava flows, and that sometimes between those lava flows there is also soil. So all this together, all the lava flows plus the soil in between, as we see in this cake, all this together act as a huge body of aquifer. Okay, and this holds a lot of water. We should add to that fact that the Golan Heights gets a lot of rainfall during the year, mostly in the winter and spring. It reaches to more than 1,000 millimeters of rain per year. So we combine the amount of rain and the huge body of aquifer that can hold all this water. We have a large reservoir of water, and another thing is that it's not just a lot of water, it's high quality water, because as we mentioned before about the fungi that eats the minerals of the rock, the basaltic rocks are actually made of a mixture of minerals. Among them, you have iron, magnesium, titanium, potassium, calcium, and many more. It's a blend. And all these minerals are added to the water. And these are real mineral waters, okay? So this is one thing. Now, let's talk about the soil. The soil, the most basic definition of soil is eroded rock. So if we just said that the rocks, the basalt rocks, are made of a mixture of minerals, soil that is enriched with minerals, and that's why the soil in the Golan Heights is very rich. The carbonates rock in the rest of Israel are the rocks are made of only one mineral, which is calcium carbonate. So this is one difference. And this fertile rock soil permits to have a very good agriculture, and also amazing wildlife. And now we will see it also. So a lot of water, fertile rocks and soils are a very good basis for rich biodiversity. And actually in the Golan Heights, we have a rich and wonderful biodiversity. Here's just only small examples. We have here a fox and a wolf and a gazelle and many other animals, and in general, flora and fauna, very, very rich. And all this together gives us an extraordinary wilderness. We have here in the Golan Heights open lands. You feel when people come to the Golan Heights, the first thing that they feel is that nature hugs them, that they see nature everywhere, that everything is so pristine, so rich. And this is a result of a combination of things. But for me, as I see it as a geologist, as a nature lover, everything starts from all the layers of the ecosystem. An ecosystem is a cycle, and it starts from the geology, then continues to the flora, and then to the fauna, and they are all acting together. And the Golan Heights is a great platform for that, for rich biodiversity and rich nature. And it serves all Israeli people. They come to visit, to hike, to camp, to take a deep breath of cool and clean air. This brings me to the reason why me and a number of friends here in the Golan Heights, we decided to create the organization. We call it Shomrei Golan, Golan's Guardians, because we know that this place is a treasure. And in today's reality of the world, and Israel especially, where the population just grows more and more, and our borders don't allow us to expand anywhere. So the first thing that is in danger in this situation is the open lands. Open lands will always be the target of pituach, the word of development. Yes. So we found it very critical and crucial to be those who can demand development, a sustainable development. We are here to ensure that all the development of the Golan that is very welcome just will be done in a way that doesn't hurt what we already have and love. It should be in balance. And sometimes when people are so involved in development, sometimes they forget the most basic thing that sometimes is nature. It's very easy to just say, okay, I don't mind. It's easy to put aside, and we are here to always put it in the front and work in harmony with everyone to ensure this place to the next generations also. I think I will finish with this.
And Nicole, can you maybe mention some of the projects, energy and everything that you were involved in trying to raise the awareness for sustainable development?
Yeah, okay, actually the wind turbines, I guess you meant to that. Wind turbines in Israel, at least, is a very good example of what we are talking about. There is no we all know that green energy is needed, and that we should stop relying our life on fossil fuels. That's for sure. But we have to ensure ourselves that this green energy is also sustainable. What do I mean? Now there are plans to put hundreds of large, huge wind turbines in the Golan Heights to produce green electricity. But if you go closer to the details, the thing that we have done, we find that all these hundreds of wind turbines will produce not more than 1.5% of Israel's electricity demand in 2018, which means the use of electricity is always grows, and this percentage will always, and it will keep decreasing, which means it's almost nothing of electricity, but it will harm all kind of birds. It will harm for sure, because it is it is seen worldwide, also in Israel a little bit, that it kills birds, and it has many other effects on nature, but it will harm the ecosystem. And we say, if it were to give 20%, okay, maybe it's worth it, but 1% doesn't worth it. We have to think about it different. We should use green energy. If it's a photovoltaic or wind energy, we should put it on infrastructures, on area, not on open areas that are so scarce in Israel. I hope I answered.
Okay, I'll say you can stop the share screen so we can all see you. I'll just say also, if I recall, I was still in the army when it started, but also there were oil searches for oil in the Golan. They believe there's oil, and they
Yes.
were digging very deep, talking about the topic of your lecture. So I know there was also a lot of arguments and tension around that. Folks, any questions before we let Nicole continue her evening? London, Israel, United States of America. If anyone has questions, this is your chance.
I hope it was clear.
It was very comprehensive, and I'm not a good student, so I'll just say before
Maps always help for
Yeah.
next time.
So I'll just say for those who are with us and for those who are with us on Facebook, before I share with you the rest of the schedule, I'm just going to say, to put things in context, not only the Golan is unique because it's volcano, cinder cones and everything, but those cinder cones, for those of you who have been with me on the Syrian border, in these days we're marking 53 years to the Six-Day War, and the troops who understood the land, who understood the landscape, stopped the battles in the last day of the war on the line of cinder cones Nicole was talking about, because those cinder cones give us strategic military and intelligence control of both sides of the border, the Syrian and the Israeli. So aside from the nature and all the, I gotta say in the army, they also use the chocolate cake. I still remember it. That's actually how they taught us about the Golan also, about the landscape. So I loved seeing it here also. But so it also has the military and security context when we talk about that. With that said, friends, thank you very much, Nicole. And I'm just gonna remind you all that Nicole's talk also will be uploaded to our YouTube channel, which is Golan Heights. So you'll be able to find it under the title of the talk, Israel's Lands of Volcanoes. It's on our Facebook group, From Golan with Love, the public group. And in 24 minutes, we begin with Lieutenant Colonel Eyal Dro, the commander of Operation Good Neighbor for the Syrian refugees. And after that, in an hour and 23 minutes, we have Maya Shulman from the Golan Community Development from the Regional Council, and she's going to talk about community resilience during the Corona crisis. So thank you very, very much, Nicole. Thank you for your time. Thank you, everyone, for joining us, and have a great, great week.